for allowing our officers to display the adjudication records and hosting adjudication committee hearings at your establishment. Additionally, the work of the island-wide adjudication committees have been integral to our work in the adjudication process and the continued success of this program. I would therefore like to especially acknowledge the chairpersons of 5 adjudication committees who have joined us today. The combined effort of all these stakeholders have led to the successful preparation and issuance of titles to residents at today's ceremony. Lastly, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to our field officers from the National Land Agency who have worked assiduously to gather land-related information from residents in the declared adjudication areas to complete the applications. They have traversed the length and breadth of these parishes and have unreservedly supported the implementation of the program. To the recipients at the ceremony today, and those who will be at our distribution activity later in the afternoon, congratulations on this significant achievement. Your land title is not just a legal document, it's a key to unlocking countless opportunities, a symbol of your dedication and a foundation upon which dreams can be built. So let us celebrate this day with joy, gratitude, and a renewed commitment to continue working towards a future where land ownership is a reality for all. Thank you for being a part of this historic occasion, and may the impact of today's distribution resonate far beyond the ceremony, shaping a brighter future for our communities. Thank you all.
Prime Minister, Minister, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, kindly allow me to adopt the protocol that has already been established by the moderator. Good morning. Land is not just a physical entity. It is a source of livelihood, a symbol of heritage, and it represents the foundation upon which our society and economy are built. Therefore, it is our collective responsibility to safeguard and manage this invaluable resource. The Systematic Land Registration Program is a visionary step taken by the government of Jamaica to address long-standing issues related to land ownership and property rights. Prior to its implementation, our nation faced numerous challenges, such as disputes over land and insecure land tenure. However, with meticulous planning and a commitment to reform, Jamaica embarked on a journey in 2021 to modernize its land registration system. This journey has resulted in the issuance of over 8,700 certificates of title for parcels of land in St. Catherine, St. Elizabeth, and Manchester. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the largest number of certificates of title ever issued in this country from a land titling program. Systematic land registration enhances property rights, economic opportunities, and overall quality of life. Making land titles more accessible to the general public enables citizens to use their lands as collateral for loans, thus fostering entrepreneurship and economic empowerment. It ensures transparency in land transactions, making it easier for persons to buy, sell, and invest in land with confidence. It facilitates wealth generation, as land ownership often represents a significant portion of an individual's wealth. This land titling ceremony is therefore not just about collecting a piece of paper, it's about empowerment, pride, and addressing historical injustices. The Systematic Land Registration Program commenced in St. Catherine in May 2021, and the National Land Agency placed particular emphasis on this parish because there are existing cadastral maps of land previously surveyed under the former Land Administration and Management Program. Many of you know it as LAMP. The team from the Adjudication Services Division investigated over 12,000 parcels of land in several communities, including Crawl, Riversdale, Morris Hall, Harkers Hall, and Mount Olive. These investigations were extensive and comprehensive in nature. The cadastral maps were used to identify parcels of land, and thereafter, the team conducted host-to-host visits in these communities in order to determine rights and interests in land. The team also engaged community members to verify the information gathered from interviews with landowners. And once the team collated the relevant information in the designated Systematic Adjudication Area or community, the information was then processed in accordance with the amendments to the Special Provisions Act and the relevant documentation prepared for the issuance of certificates of title by the Titles Office. The display of an adjudication record then followed, and this is a document listing the names and particulars of all persons claiming an interest in land in the Systematic Adjudication Area. The adjudication record was then displayed in the community for 30 days, usually at shops, gas stations, restaurants, and posted on the NLA's website. This process allowed persons to peruse the adjudication record and submit an objection where they claimed to have an interest in a parcel of land. If an objector came forward, they would have to complete an objection to the adjudication record application form, then submit the document to me, the Senior Director, Adjudication Services Division, within 30 days of the display of the adjudication record. I would then refer the objection to an adjudication committee for them to make a determination in favor of the applicant or the objector and issue an adjudication certificate as proof of ownership. Thereafter, the adjudication certificate will be lodged at the Titles Office and a certificate of title issued. Now, if there was no objection to the adjudication record, I would issue the adjudication certificates, which were then lodged at the Titles Office, and certificates of title issued in the names of the landowners. I hope that what I've outlined so far gives a better understanding of what the systematic land registration process entails, as the program will be further expanded to other parishes with low rates of land registration, and a full list of all the systematic adjudication areas can be found on the National Land Agency's website. To the residents who are receiving their certificates of title today, you have personally seen that the systematic land registration process works. Now, the responsibility of owning land extends beyond the boundaries marked on your certificates of title. It is a responsibility to use your land wisely, protect your boundaries, and safeguard your property for future generations. I charge you to become ambassadors for the Systematic Land Registration Program. Encourage your friends and family, locally and abroad, to participate and get their lands registered, as NLA plus you equal title for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Walcott, for the official welcome and, of course, reminding us the importance of this program in promoting economic growth and prosperity for generations to come. And also thank you to Ms. Porteous for the comprehensive explanation of the Systematic Land Registration Program, which has deepened our appreciation of the efforts extended to make this program successful. Thank you so much, ladies. Our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is a community stalwart and vibrant representative for the people of St. Catherine. Please join me in welcoming Custos of St. Catherine, the Honorable Iselin Golding, to bring greetings.
Good morning. This is the day that the Lord hath made. So let us be happy, let us rejoice for the day that the Lord hath made. Isn't that so, recipients? Good. the Most Honourable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister, Members of Parliament, Mrs. Natalie Nita Headley, Ms. Carencia Morrison, all other distinguished, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Kindly allow me to adopt the protocol that was already established due to the essence of time. Today, I say to you, and I open with a quote, if you are the luckiest 1% of humanity, you owe it to the rest of humanity to think about the other 99%. I share this quote from Warren Buffett because today it reminds me of the thoughtfulness of our Prime Minister and the government of Jamaica for this significant approach and kind gesture through the National Land Agency to formalize ownership of lands for the citizens of this blessed country. This event today symbolizes empowerment, recognizing the right to property and providing security to those who have called these lands their homes for many years. Isn't that true, recipients? Are you listening? Okay. Are you happy that you're receiving land titles today? Wonderful, wonderful. Honorable Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed an honor to also welcome you to this beautiful parish of St. Catherine and to join you all in this systematic land titling ceremony and to witness where individuals who might have faced challenges in affording the cost of or navigating the complexities of obtaining land titles are finally receiving their rightful recognition. This initiative, I'm sure, embodies government's commitment to ensuring equitable access to property rights for all citizens. Ladies and gentlemen, I think for this gesture we are moving in the right direction because I'm informed that over 120 communities in St. Catherine alone were declared by the Honorable Prime Minister and the Government of Jamaica to receive assistance through this land registration program in obtaining titles. And it also includes advancing the cost of legal and surveying charges. Isn't that a blessing? Wonderful. And I also hear the good news that persons who will be receiving land titles are across this parish, from Augustown to Bybrook to Church Road, to Commodore, to Nollis, to Williamsfield, to Crawl, to Berbick, to Mount Olive, to Harkazall, Morris Hall, and other communities. So, as we commemorate this event, let us acknowledge the hard work and dedication of every individual who made it possible today, and we are extremely grateful for this. This ceremony, ladies and gentlemen, not only grants legal ownership, but also fosters a sense of belonging, stability, and pride within the communities. It signifies the beginning of a new chapter filled with opportunities for growth. You can now walk into any lending agency, I'm sure, and present your title with pride. So may I add that with the success of this program, coupled with the major developments taking place in the parish, Honorable Prime Minister, St. Catherine is shining like a beacon today. And may I add a little that I think it's the best parish. So once again, thank you for the kind gesture for the people of this country. And congratulations to all recipients of land titles. We celebrate with you. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Custos Golding, for those words. And I have to express formally a very, very special thank you on behalf of the agency for your support of this program. So thank you so much, Custos. So now, ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is the Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. So please, let's all welcome Mrs. Arlene Williams to bring her remarks. A round of applause for her, please.
Thank you so much, Madam Master of Ceremonies, Talia Suarez. The Most Honourable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister. Miss Natalie Nita Garvey, Member of Parliament for North Central St. Catherine. Other members of Parliament here, councillors, Miss Cherise Walcott, CEO, National Land Agency. Pastor Noel Ann, I must say, I do feel as if I'm in the house of the Lord, so I'm totally comfortable. And so, did I say Custos Iselin Golding, Custos Rotterdam, St. Catherine, other distinguished guests, students, you have a very special place in my heart, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to be here in beautiful Bogwalk this morning, a country girl myself. And this is for the latest land titling ceremony by the National Land Agency under the Systematic Land Registration Program. And I will not go much into this because you would have heard a lot about the program. What I want to say, I want to start by saying two tiny words. I own. Say it after me, recipients in particular. I own. Just 4 letters between those 2 words. But for those who can lawfully, and I stress lawfully say them, what a sense of empowerment they create. Amen. So Jamaica has made great strides, and I'm sure you will all agree with this. And despite this, though, a number of persons still can't afford to say these 2 words, I own, in reference to the lands that they occupy. Sometimes the land is captured and structures go up without clear building guidelines or proper infrastructure, and in no time at all, we have another illegal settlement on our hands. Others are 2nd or even 3rd generation occupants and have been born seeing their parents and grandparents on the land. Many of them don't even know who owns the property, as no papers change hand, right? The titling ceremony here today is proof that the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation and its agency, the National Land Agency, are working to make a positive difference in the lives of persons. We are ensuring that now, more than at any other time in history, Jamaicans are the proud owners of titles to their land. To this end, the Systematic Land Registration Program is a brilliant and well-needed initiative. According to the NLA, there are approximately 350,000 unregistered parcels of land in our little country. Imagine that. Estimated at a value of over 200 billion Jamaican dollars. This, though, is way too much when we think of lands being unregistered. So I know that over the years, the NLA has been painstakingly implementing various initiatives to reduce the volume of unregistered lands and increase the numbers of titles. And indeed, I commend them for their past efforts. And so, to the latest recipients of this initiative, I extend my heartiest congratulations to you all. Today marks a new beginning for you. As our Prime Minister will often say, owning land helps you to break intergenerational poverty, and this is such a true statement. And so, not only will you be able to say, I own, but you will have that all-important title to back up your chat. Getting a title is like getting a diploma at graduation. It looks like a simple piece of paper. But what a diploma represents is years of learning and sitting exams, years of sweat and tears. And so a title, which looks like a simple piece of paper, represents sweat, tears, and hard-earned money invested in property. When you have it, nobody can take step with you, not true, and remove you from it or claim it as theirs. Not only that, the titles you get here will enable you to pass your property down to your children, and they to their children, and so on. Basically, you cannot go wrong with having a title in your hand. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as you receive your titles this morning, I wish for you to recognize and acknowledge that it is largely due to the resolve, hard work, discipline, and self-sacrifice of the team. And again, I commend them for the systematic land registration program and what it has delivered so far, and you would have heard what it promises to deliver in the future. Lastly, I encourage you to make the best use of your assets and to work to keep up the value of your property. I want to say that the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation and all its entities are working with not just a bag of chat, we back up our talk with real hard work. And so I want to say thank you so much, that I'm grateful to all those who have made this day possible. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to attending more titling ceremonies in the future. We are going to make it happen. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Williams, for your remarks and your continued support of the work of the NLA and the development of Jamaica. Thank you so much. Our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is the Member of Parliament for North Central St. Catherine, Mrs. Natalie Nita Garvey. Please make her welcome as she comes to extend remarks.
Thank you, Chairman. Prime Minister, my friend, Most Honourable Andrew Michael Holness, Permanent Secretary, members of Parliament, I think there's only one other member, my friend as well, and my neighbour, Ms. Carencia Mount Morrison, councillors, Burke, Moody, Abrams, Divisional Chairman, Mrs. Denise Murphy Bramwell. I acknowledge, not in that particular order, the tallest lady here, tall in stature too, Miss Golding, our Costas, who wants me to stay Headley, so she didn't call me Garvey. Pastor Han, thank you as always for giving service to your community. Prime Minister, the Costas welcomed you to the best parish, but I'm welcoming you to the best constituency in Jamaica. We have the most hard-working citizens, peaceful and kind, and we have the best orange juice anywhere in the country, thanks to True Juice. I am most delighted to be a participant this morning because as Jamaicans, we are painfully aware of the history of our land in our country, arising out of our painful sojourn of slavery. I'm equally aware of the efforts that have been made by successive administrations to address the myriad of problems surrounding the vexed issue of land ownership. These issues include land utilization, settlements and supportive infrastructure, ownership and titling, illegal occupation, and efficient governmental administrative mechanism to secure legal tenure. Our opposition spokesperson on land and environment, Mrs. Sophia Fraser-Binns, who is here with me this morning, would attest to the fact that varying degrees of success really has been attended with each attempt by these governments to get titled land into the hands of our people. When the National Land Agency was founded as an executive agency, it represented a comprehensive approach to putting into one shop several critical functions. The institutional framework is of great significance in executing all the diverse actions to have successful land reform and tenure in Jamaica. The Land Administration and Management Program, LAMP, has been an important part of the NLA's work for several years. Its two divisions have been mandated to assist landowners to obtain a certificate of title for their land utilization and the ad hoc voluntary registration and systematic land registration. Madam Chairman, I am not sure how long the entire process takes from the start to title in hand, but I'm currently working with the National Land Agency to give titles to the people of Commodore, Angels Heights, Sunnyside, and Cedar Valley in North Central St. Catherine. I take this opportunity to encourage the National Land Agency to seek to devise the requisite efficiencies to navigate this complex journey in the shortest possible time. The lack of titles prevents home improvement and construction, as well as agricultural expansion. We need it quickly to benefit our people now. I know the process involves interviews and surveys, and it can be costly, among other tedious steps, but it's a vital step to our people's development. We are nevertheless pleased with the progress made, and we look forward to others being ready for distribution to landowners very soon. As I said before, it is not only that we are settling historical issues, but also to enable economic enablement, empowerment, upliftment by building intergenerational wealth and social security going into our future. I commend the NLA for being steadfast in its duty to Jamaica, even under difficult circumstances. Despite having to navigate some 15 pieces of legislation, you have stuck to the mission of ensuring that Jamaica has an efficient and transparent system that guarantees the security of tenure, a national land valuation database, and that there is optimal use of government lands. I know you cannot yet say mission accomplished, but I am confident that steady progress is being made, and Jamaicans will have much to which they can look forward. For these reasons, I sincerely congratulate the management and staff of the NLA and express my best wishes for you today. Congratulations to all the recipients of titles this morning. You are now proud owners of a piece of Jamrock. My wish is that your title will not only help to create your wealth, but be a symbol for you to build better communities, more harmonious communities, stronger families, and that together we can build a better Jamaica, where each man is your brother and each neighbor is your friend. Good morning.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Nita Garvey. She's beaming with pride this morning. Can you tell? She really is beaming with lots of pride, knowing that her constituents are uplifted and even more empowered this morning. Thank you so much for your presentation. And we look forward to your continued contribution and support for the Systematic Land Registration Program. Thank you so much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the time has come for a break in the program, and I think we're due for a little entertainment. So please, let's all welcome the students from the Tullow Primary School. Put your hands together for them, and please make them all feel welcomed.
Of the goodness of God, and I will sing of the goodness of God. Of you, Lord, for your mercy never failed me all my days. I've been held in your hands from the moment that I wake up until I
Keep the applause going, ladies and gentlemen, for the students of the Tulla Primary School. We can all agree that that was a lovely performance. And I should actually tell you a few fun facts about the Tulla Primary School. They can actually boast that they've produced 3 Rhodes Scholars. Yes. And they've also had outstanding academic performances in sporting activities as well. They do very well. So we have to give them another round of applause, right? Yes, 3 Rhodes Scholars, Mr. Maurice Ten, Professor Hanif Lachman, and Shakiba Foster. So at this time, ladies and gentlemen, we will hear from our keynote address delivered by the Most Honourable Andrew Michael Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica. He's steadfastly focused on building partnerships to achieve the vision of shared prosperity for all Jamaicans through inclusive economic growth and meaningful job creation. Leading an agile and responsive government, the Prime Minister is committed to making Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, do business, and of course, retire in paradise. Ladies and gentlemen, the Prime Minister needs no further introduction. Please make him feel welcome as he delivers our keynote address, the Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Most Honourable Andrew Holness.
Thank you, Thalia, for your excellent mastery of the ceremony so far. Now, I'm in a church. You have heard me attempt to sing, and I really don't do a very good job of it. But I can attest to the goodness of the Lord. And so I would like to congratulate the Tulla Primary School's choir for their lovely rendition of that very moving song. I thought I would get an amen. The icebreaker, that's what you call it. The highest praise. Good. Yes, I agree with you. Now, whilst I accept the welcome to St. Catherine, I find it necessary to remind the audience that this is my parish. I was born in Spanish Town, grew up in Spanish Town, spent most of my childhood in Spanish Town. I know these areas very well, and I still have many friends living in these areas. So, Madam Costas, it's a great pleasure to be with you. Madam MP Garvey, my friend, it's good to be in your constituency. And of course, I see that the neighboring MPs live very well with each other. So your good friend and my good friend, MP Kerencia Morrison, is here to support this event. Let me acknowledge Senator Fraser Binns, who is here also to observe. I may have a few comments relevant to your portfolio. And let me acknowledge the councillors who are here from the Municipal Authority, my permanent secretary from the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, and our Chief Executive Officer of the NLA and Commissioner of Lands, Ms. Cherise Walcott, and your hardworking team at the NLA. And again, I should mention the prayers that were offered. Thank you, sir. It was well said, and I felt like you were praying for me specially. Have you ever considered what ownership means? What does it mean to say, I own something? They have a saying in law that possession is 9/10 of it. That if you have it in your hand, then you can claim some ownership. And that is indeed the guiding principle of ownership. If I possess it, if I live on it, if I occupy it, if I am using it, then I can have some form of ownership. And generally, there is some protection for that under the common law, because many Jamaicans have been living on lands that they or their family have occupied for many years, centuries even. And the law does give some protection to that. And I have many friends who would say to me, I'm going to go to the country to go and look at my family land. You would have heard people say they have land for so many years, they haven't been there for how long, they don't know if anybody is living there or what is happening with the land, but they're just going to go and check on family land. They have no titles for it really, but they have just claimed it for many years, their families have lived on it. And of course, there is the root in law of adverse possession, that if you have occupied land undisturbed and you can prove that for a certain number of years, then there is a formal process through which you can go through the courts and the NLA to have the land registered in your name. So we have, by and large, by virtue of history, had an informal relationship with ownership of land. We have claimed to own land informally by virtue of being in possession or occupation. But that's only 9/10 of the consideration of ownership. Because if it isn't documented properly somewhere, it can be contested. It can even be contested by your own family members. And in fact, what we have noticed is an increase in domestic disputes over property, over ownership, conflicts arising out of the informal nature of ownership. To the point where they believe that because it is informal, they can't take it to court. They cannot have it adjudicated. And therefore, they have to resort to other means of solving the conflict over ownership. And so you would read many times in the newspapers of murders going as far as the use of violence to resolve matters of ownership. Sad. We have seen many cases of brothers killing brothers, father and children. I mean, I've heard of one case where the grandfather has the land. He is the patriarch of the family, older man. There are other people living on the land, his family members, and they want to take control of the land, and they just kill him. Sad. You see how this business of ownership becomes very complex. So one of the ways to properly define ownership is to make sure that people who have a genuine claim, have some security around that claim. If there is a conflict in ownership, if there is a contest of the ownership, there is an objective arbiter to say, no, this right is indefeasible, meaning that once you have the title to it, some formal documentation registered in a database, nobody can come and claim it. And there is a formal process by which any claims can be assessed. So, in Jamaica, we have several databases of land. In other words, we have several registers of land where we document, write it down, each parcel of land, and sometimes we are able to say who owns it or who has some rights or interest to it. So, for example, one that is very important to the government is the valuation roll. How many of you know about the valuation roll? Anybody can tell me about that? Everybody here will get to know what the valuation roll is. And I see some people smiling, they obviously know, because it is the valuation roll that we use to pay our taxes. When you go to pay your property tax, they ask you, what is your land valuation number? That's a very important number. Yes. And that tells the government what is the approximate taxation on land that it should be able to collect. What is due for each parcel of land. Now, in Jamaica, many persons use that as a step to formalization of ownership. So you'll always hear people say, well, I've been occupying the land and I pay the taxes for it. They don't have a title for it, but they have been paying the taxes on it as proof of their occupancy and intent to show ownership for the land. Of course, we have other maps where we want to look at environmental issues. So we look at land by virtue of development orders. What can be built here and what can't be built there. Which land is environmentally sensitive that shouldn't take certain activities. Which land is for agriculture versus which land could be used for commercial and industrial. All of those are registers of, technically, of lands that we have and the use to which they can be put. And then, of course, there is, help me to understand this, Commissioner of Land, the torrent system, which is basically the register of land and ownership. And in that system, we keep all our titles. Basically, all our titles refer to that system. So, by virtue of our land valuation register, we know all the parcels of land that are taxable. And we know that there are about 300,000 parcels of land that are on the valuation roll, but are not registered with title. You see how much land, parcels of land that we have to get registered? That is really the root of the problem of formalizing the Jamaican economy and society. And what this process in which we are engaged, for which we have the ceremony for, is that we used to take the view that we will wait until people find it within themselves or find it necessary or have the wherewithal to come and register their property. So we call that the ad hoc approach. So we wait until you come. Now, to register, to get your land registered, you have to get a survey. Yes, because you have to properly identify the boundaries of the land. You have to make sure that nobody else has a claim on it, or if claims are on it, they are properly registered. Sometimes government has, I wouldn't say claim, but need to have access to it. So you have rights of way. Sometimes utility companies may have to have rights of way too, and access to it. And all of those have to be properly documented and placed on your title. So it's not just a matter that you say, I have the land, come and register it. There is a process. And that process is sometimes very costly. You know how much it costs to hire a land surveyor these days? And if you have to remove covenants or add on any other record, any other lien or any other consideration on the title, and you have to go and hire a lawyer to do that, you know how much that costs? So some of these costs can be prohibitive, which is why the ad hoc approach, where we are waiting on people to come, could be very slow. It would take us maybe 50 years if we were to wait on persons to come and register their land. So what we have done is to establish a program, and this is really the test phase of the program, in collaboration with the NHD, and we have taken over work that has crossed administration through the LAMP program and other such programs. And we have said that instead of waiting for people to come, we are going to just declare areas which we call systematic areas for land registration. We're going to put up the money, and here we must commend the NHD because they have put up, I gather, about $1 billion to support this project. And we go, after declaring certain communities, and I believe we have declared entire parishes, about 2 or 3 parishes. And we establish what is called an adjudication committee, and we have teams that go out into the communities, meet with the people who have land there who is not registered, and we inform them of the process. We do the surveys. Can you imagine? We do all the processes necessary. If there are any conflicts regarding the land, or anyone is contesting the land, the adjudication committee will work with all the stakeholders involved, including your justice of the peace and people who have knowledge of the community. Because sometimes the only definition of the land, the land is from the guango tree over there. It stopped right at Mas Edwards farm, and then it got down the hill. Now, that is very imprecise. So we have to go and survey it. And sometimes when you're doing the survey, your neighbor might say, oh, no, you're taking over a couple feet of my land. And then there is conflict. And that is where the adjudication committee will have to sit with both parties and resolve it. No need to go and hire hitmen. I have to just talk it as it is. Because we have seen these situations before. And so what we are doing is to establish ownership in a formal way, using the systematic registration of titles. So under this phase of the project, we have budgeted resources to do about 12,000 titles. I'm pleased to say, and that is 12,000 titles. We started in 2021, and we should do 12,000 titles by 2025. And I'm pleased to say that we are, if I consult with my notes here, it was said before, we are at about 8,000. We're about 8,700, 8,700 titles we have done so far. So at this rate, it seems to me that we will complete the 12,000 long before 2025. In fact, by my notes here, we are at about 9,000 because we are doing a special project in St. Elizabeth where we have to do this kind of survey for lands to facilitate a massive irrigation project. I think it's the Pedro Plains project, if I'm not mistaken, in St. Elizabeth. And so we have to survey those lands, and so that will work out to be another 1,000 titles. So we're well on our way in terms of the systematic registration of titles. Now, what's the next step? How do we make this now mainstream in government? How do we mainstream this, make this the standard practice that we go to all communities in Jamaica? If your land is not registered, we go through the process, we survey it for you, we deal with the legal stuff for you, and we get it registered. Well, it's going to take a lot of money. That's what it comes down to. It also comes down to administration. The NLA has to develop the technical expertise and the administrative expertise to be able to manage such a wide program to deal with 300,000 thereabout unregistered lots. And that's why we do it in phases. So in this development phase, the NLA is developing the technical expertise to do it and the institutional knowledge to do it. And I'm quite confident from what I've seen that they are developing this institutional depth to be able to operate at enterprise scale to deal with 300,000 lots. So my commitment in terms of a keynote today is that your government is not just talking about these issues. I'm sure you would have heard many speeches before on a populist platform. We're going to give everybody land. We're going to give everybody title. And the crowd said, "Ray!" And it didn't happen. The key from my presentation to you today is that we are a government that gets things done. It's not a message that everybody will readily accept, because there are those who like the populist promise. But when they are confronted with the promise not delivered, they are quietly upset but don't say anything, because they were the ones who empowered the populists. Now I want you today to empower the doers. Empower the people who get things done. And I'm confident that I'm not coming here to make a promise to you. What I'm doing here today is giving you a report on how things are getting done. So you will hear all kind of talk. But one thing they cannot say is that we did not get things done. A lot needs to be done in Jamaica. On my way in, listening to the radio, I heard a principal calling that he may have to cancel classes because there's no water in his school. And I've been reflecting on the billions of dollars we have spent on putting in new water systems and creating new water supply. I know the Member of Parliament is going to remind me about a few other concerns she has about water, and so too Member of Parliament Currency. But when I reflect on the number of water systems that we have put in, and then I look at still the numbers still to go, it's a lot of work still to be done. Who are you going to get to do this? The people who promise it, or the people who can actually do it? Yes. You see, I have to put it into your head, you know. I have to confront you with it. Because sometimes we fall prey to the promise and don't look at the people who can actually do it. So, when it comes to this, we are going to allocate in our next budget another massive allocation. We can't rely on the NHT wholly and solely to do this. So out of the central government budget, we will allocate another $1 billion towards land titling to make sure that this process continues. So, Permanent Secretary, you have to note it and make sure that there is the line item in the next budget. Land titling is absolutely important for the development of the country. The ambition of this government is to have every Jamaican who owns or occupies a piece of land now go through the formal process to determine whether or not that can be legally ascribed a title of ownership. And that is what we are committing to do. Now, I said I would make some comments relative to the portfolio of the environment. Recently, we had some heavy rains. I wish none of you here had any negative impact. I hope all of you here were safe. You might have a little leak, but nobody was washed out. I see Carencia pointing out to me that she has a few that she wants to tell me about. So I'm hopeful that you were not too badly affected by the heavy rains. A couple things to note about the weather. If you're like me growing up in the 70s and 80s, your recollection of heavy rains would be maybe the June floods. How many of you remember those floods? And they happen maybe once every 10 to 20 years. Right? I mean, it wasn't a constant thing. I would say that in the last decade at least, we have seen almost on a 2-year cycle heavy rains that lead to significant flooding. And thank God we have been spared the worst. Cuba, Haiti, and now the Dominican Republic and other countries. We must give God thanks we have been spared the worst. But as a key message to you who are gathered today, I want you to be more attuned to your environment and your climate. We have so many things to worry about. Really worry about environmental issues, and we only hear people talk about climate change. And in Jamaica, our climate don't really change. It's summer all year around, except we get some rains. But the science is very clear that our climate is changing. And it is changing in ways that are impacting the way in which we live. Now, man is the most intelligent creature on the face of the planet. And man would have survived many changes in the climate in the history of the planet. I am confident we can do what is necessary to adapt to climate change and to mitigate, meaning take actions to overcome or slow the change in the climate. We can do that at the governmental level, which is where I spend a lot of my time working internationally, treating with how we finance things like climate smart technologies and improving our infrastructure. But we also have to fight it individually. And individually, we have to now start to think, how do I settle? Meaning, before, if I didn't have to consider climate change, I could go build a house close to a river, because the possibility of a weather event that is going to come and affect me would be one such event in 30, 40, 50 years. So you could take the chance. Not so in today's world. You have to be very careful where you choose to settle. Be very careful where you choose to live. Think about the impact of the climate on your shelter, number one. Number two, be very careful how you build. Thankfully, in Jamaica, because of the experience of Hurricane Gilbert, everybody overbuilds in terms of the reinforcement. And our favorite mode of building is block and steel, concrete. And for other reasons, people want to have block and steel. It is a sign of prosperity, that if you have a house out of block and steel, things are going for you. Now, block and steel is good. Some people don't always build according to the codes. But because of the frequency of these weather events, it is very important, absolutely important, that you follow the building codes for what you build. In particular, how you build your roof and the foundations of your buildings. So 2 things that I'm going to ask you to do as part of my key messages to you this morning is pay attention to your environment and to the climate. Be climate smart. And being climate smart, you want to think about where you choose to live. Avoid riverbank, avoid steep slope, avoid shaly soil, avoid gully banks. And when you build according to the building codes. So I raise the issue because I made some comments when I visited St. Thomas, and I observed some of the reaction is, then where me I go live? People are suffer. And I understand that. I do understand that. But that attitude does not solve the problem. It is that attitude that gets you into the problem. And government can't give succor, meaning we can't support that attitude because it doesn't advance you. What has hurt us for many years is that governments have winked at this kind of behavior. In fact, governments have supported it and have told people, go and live there. I will not be that government. Because as I stand here, I'm telling you what the scientists know, that the weather and the climate will become even more unpredictable and intense and will cause greater damage to our shelter solutions. If you notice, all the roads that we are building now, we are trying to move them inland and up. We're trying to move them away from sea level. And all the highways that we are building, you will notice that we are putting in some massive culverts because we know what is going to happen with the heavy rains and the water. I'm saying this to you to be conscious. I want you to be conscious of the time in which you live in. Nobody wants to take away your land. Nobody wants to deprive you of where you live. We say these things because we care about you. And for too long, you have been acting in the dark without understanding the impact of these natural events on your own survival. We want our Jamaican people to be climate smart and to incorporate issues of the environment and climate in the decision about how you live and where you choose to live. So, I hope my comments this morning were enlightening, that you left here today, you will leave here today, with more knowledge than you came here with a better understanding of what it is that the government is doing. But more importantly, you are better situated, meaning that you have a better understanding of what your role is and what you can do in ensuring that Jamaica is the place of choice to live, work, raise families, do business, and ultimately to retire in paradise. God bless you, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Prime Minister Holness, for, of course, highlighting what ownership means. Fantastic presentation. Right, ladies and gentlemen? Another round of applause for our Prime Minister, please. Thank you so much for sharing the status of the program and, of course, telling us that this will be included in the budget. Yes, next year. I'm sure we're happy about that. So thank you so much, Prime Minister. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we've reached to that point of the program where our over 25 specially invited guests will now receive their registered certificates of title. I'm honored, of course, to take us through this aspect of the program. So please note that the names were not arranged in any particular order. And at this time, I'd like to re-invite Prime Minister Holness to the stage to issue the first 5 titles. Yes, right. Is right there fine? Ladies and gentlemen, right there is good? All right. Our first recipient is Victor Charles. And I should remind you, once you've received your title, please do not leave immediately. We need you, once everything has ended, we need you to get to the back of the church to sign for your title, okay? So once you've received the title, please don't leave immediately. We need you to officially sign off on all the documentation. A round of applause for Victor Charles, ladies and gentlemen. Even though he's visually impaired, he did tell the Prime Minister that he's a farmer, right? And he has been farming for quite some time. All right, so we're gonna move it along. Our next recipient, Frederick Taylor. You can give them a round of applause, man. Today is a big day, ladies and gentlemen. The beginning of a new chapter. Congratulations, Mr. Frederick Taylor, ladies and gentlemen. Next recipient, Stanford Binns. Congratulations, Mr. Binns. The next person to receive their title, Samantha Adams. Yes, Samantha, smile. I know today is a happy day for you. Yes. Next up, Donita Kemisha Rooms. Donita, why you not smiling? The PM giving you your title, you know. Give him a big smile, man, and shake him hand strong too. Yes! Thank you so much, Mr. Prime Minister. I will now invite Member of Parliament, Mrs. Nita Garvey, to issue another 5 titles. Our next recipient, Walton Eustace Scott. Come on, Mr. Scott. Walton Scott. All right, I'm going to leave out the middle. Don't worry yourself. Congratulate. Mr. Scott, don't turn your back to the press, man. They need to take your picture. There you go. Big smiles. Congratulations, Mr. Scott. Give him a hand, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. Next up, Johnny Delroy Thomas. Congratulations, Johnny. Up next, receiving their title, Maud Buchanan. Give her a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. She is coming for her title this morning. Yes, Ms. Buchanan. Congratulations, Mrs. Buchanan. Mrs. Buchanan is also grateful this morning. Finally formalized. We love it. Next up, Audley Fitzgerald Needham. Give him a round of applause, please. We're celebrating with him this morning. Doreen Williams is our next recipient, who will be receiving her title. Come on up, Miss Williams. Put your hands together for her, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations, Miss Williams, and thank you so much, Mrs. Garvey. I now invite Costas Iceland Golding to issue another 5 titles. Next up, we have Hubert Christopher Welsh. Thank you so much, Mr. Welsh. Congratulations to you. Our next recipient, Craig Anthony Alexander Brooks. Big smiles, Mr. Brooks. Congratulations to you. Our next recipient, Annalita Rashida Watson. Not here? Okay. We then move to Harvey Henry. Oh, she's here? Okay. Annalita Watson? Yes, come on up. Congratulations to you. Congratulations. And Harvey Henry. Oh, Mr. Henry's here. Okay, great. Mr. Henry, they'd love to take your photo. Congratulations, Mr. Henry. And thank you so much, Costas Golding. I'm now inviting CEO and Commissioner of Lands, Ms. Sharice Walcott, to issue the remaining 5 titles. Next up, we have Cheryl Maxine Taylor. Congratulations, Ms. Taylor. Our next recipient, Angela Azra Anderson Chambers. Yes, give her a round of applause. Congratulations, Mrs. Chambers. Our next recipient, Maureen Williams. Congratulations to you, Ms. Williams. We then move to Stephanie Mae Johnson. Congratulations, Ms. Williams. And now we move to Stephanie Mae Johnson. Is Stephanie here? Oh, she just collected, okay. So now we then will be distributing the title to Samantha McLean Smith. I know I have 2 more names. Next up, Kaden Antoinette Stevenson. Is Kaden here? No, not here. All right, and our final presentation will be going, oh, she, okay. Come on, Kaden. Kaden. Kaylen. Congratulations to you. And finally, Elston Johnson. Congratulations, Mr. Johnson. Thank you so much, Ms. Walcott. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in giving them a round of applause to all our landowners, and let's celebrate with them, because the Systematic Land Registration Program has transformed the land titling process right here in Jamaica by bringing the service to the landowners' doorsteps. Of course, as we continue to advance the program, it will have far-reaching positive effects to many more persons right here in Jamaica. So at this time, I'd like to invite Mrs. Hope Harnett, Senior Director for Business Services at the National Land Agency, to deliver the vote of thanks. All right, so before we do the vote of thanks, I'm actually re-inviting the Prime Minister, the Member of Parliament, Mrs. Nita Garvey, the Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Williams, and Custos Golding for a special presentation which will be delivered on behalf of the National Land Agency by CEO, Ms. Walcott. So at this time, Ms. Walcott, please join me on stage.
Where do we? All right.
All right, so that was a special presentation from the National Land Agency to our very own Prime Minister. Now it's time for a special presentation to Mrs. Nita Garvey. Thank you so much, Mrs. Nita Garvey. We also have a special presentation to the Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Williams. And our final presentation, Ms. Walcott, we have one more. Yes, we have one more special presentation to Custos Golding. Thank you so much, Ms. Walcott. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I had mentioned it before, so now it's just about that time to do the vote of thanks. So please, let's all welcome Mrs. Hope Harnett, Senior Director for Business Services at the National Land Agency. A round of applause for her, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. The Prime Minister, Most Honourable Andrew Holness, Minister, please allow me to adopt the protocol that has already been established by our moderator. It is my pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks on behalf of the National Land Agency. The NLA would like to thank our Prime Minister, the Most Honourable Andrew Holness, for being in attendance today and for delivering the keynote address. The Systematic Land Registration SLR program has been a game changer in the country's titling process, and the NLA remains committed to applying all its resources to ensure that the objectives of the program are achieved. We are also grateful for the guidance of our Minister with our portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, the Honourable Everett Warmington, and the support of Senator Sophia Fraser-Binns, opposition spokesman on land, environment and climate change at today's ceremony. Thanks to the members of Parliament from the constituents across St. Catherine, whose presence is a testament of their support for the SLR program. We also wish to thank our Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Mrs. Arlene Williams, His Worship Mayor Councillor Norman Scott, Mayor of Spanish Town and Custos Rotatorium of St. Catherine, the Honourable Iselin Golding, for their support at today's ceremony. Special thanks also to the councillors, council caretakers, and by extension, the entire St. Catherine Municipal Corporation. Special thanks to the New Life Tabernacle Church for providing the venue for hosting this event, and to students, teachers, and staff of the Toller Primary School for their entertainment item. Special commendation to the members of Jamaica Constabulary Force who were committed to maintaining order for the duration of the event. The NLA also extends gratitude to our media partner, Jamaica Information Service, JIS, for today's live stream, and to Radio Jamaica for today's live radio outside broadcast. I want to say a big thank you to the members of the senior management team and staff of NLA. Today's event is a result of your continued hard work, dedication, and commitment to the mandate of the agency. To our other stakeholders and special invited guests, thank you for your attendance and continued support to the work of the NLA. In closing, I will leave you all with this quote: "Success requires dedication, hard work, and unremitted devotion to the things we want to see happen. It is therefore clear from the NLA's work that we are unrelenting in the highest ideals of quality service, and we are committed to seeing that our people are given the opportunity to own a piece of Jamaica, the land of our birth. Through the commitment and resolve we stand steadfast in facilitating one agency, one goal, committed to serve you better." And thank you. Have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Hope Harnett. On behalf of the National Land Agency, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank all the attendees, everyone for being present this morning into afternoon to share this significant occasion. And we know that the government, through the NLA, is committed to increasing land ownership prospects for citizens right across Jamaica. Of course, the agency extends its appreciation for the support to those who've joined us online as well, on Facebook and on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining us. And the title recipients, please, you are asked to remain seated. We actually want a group photo right after we've completed all the proceedings here, so please don't leave. We want a group photo with the Prime Minister and a few other officials as well. And we also want you to complete the documentation process, so you still have to sign at the back of the church. So please, I know you've received your titles in hand, but don't run off just yet, all right? So our distribution activity will actually continue right after this handover ceremony here at the New Life Tabernacle Church for other landowners who will be receiving their certificates of title as well. I am Talia Suarez. I have been your moderator for the National Land Agency's 4th Systematic Land Registration Land Titling Ceremony here in Bogwalk, St. Catherine. It has been an absolute pleasure. I'm so happy for you, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations to you. This is a momentous occasion, and I want you to use this opportunity to change your lives and to change the lives of your family. Right, we're breaking generational curses one step at a time. So I thank you for joining us. Thank you for doing the right thing. But guess what? The National Land Agency is one agency, one goal, committed to serving you better. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and enjoy the rest of your day.